So first of all, I want to announce that this day in total is in dedication and is dedicated to the honor of all of the medical professionals and their continued well-being. And I have to say that it's hard to put in words what we owe our medical professional community right now. Everyone from doctors to nurses to EMTs to healthcare professionals of all kinds. They are literally putting their lives on the line for us. And may HaKadosh Baruch Hu bless them and protect them and keep them successful and safe. We also are having this day in honor of the Refuah Shelemah of the SCA co-founder Stanley Chera, and a really beloved friend of the SCA and the entire community for that matter, Shlomo Ben Shoshana, along with all of those who have unfortunately fallen ill at this time, whether coronavirus or otherwise. So on that note, before we start, I also want to just say and use this opportunity while I'm talking to a lot of really smart people that I can't encourage you enough to stay home and just stay out of the way of this virus and as much as you possibly can. This is a dangerous time for everybody. For those who think that it's just for elderly, it's not. Or for those who just have compromised immune systems, it's not. There are many cases developing, and all we want to do is stay out of its way until it goes away. And I implore every single one here to do that. I love you all, and I want to see everybody healthy and well, and just all be smart, follow the doctor's guidelines that are being sent out continually, and Be'ezrat Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will watch over us, and we'll all be safe. On that note, we're going to talk today about freedom. But before we talk about that, what I want to do is start with an understanding, right? The pasuk says, as we start the Kaddish of the Haggadah, Ele Moadei Adonai Mekra'e Kodesh, Asher Tikra'u Otam B'Moadam, right? These are the Moadim. And the Moadim, as we know, as we're used to calling them, are our holidays. Right, but what is a mo'ed? A mo'ed is a very special day. Mo'ed is a time, or in some cases a place, right? We have something called the ohel mo'ed. The ohel mo'ed is a mo'ed in place, in space, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu and us are able to achieve a relationship in the space of the ohel mo'ed. But the mo'adim, the holidays that we call the mo'adim, they are opportunities in time for us to meet, right? We have a tent of a meeting. We have a meeting in time with God. And that meeting in time, every one of our meetings in time, our mu'adim, all have a unique and a special theme that's associated with that mu'ad. And as we know, the Mu'ad for Pesach is the Mu'ad of freedom, Zman Hayrotenu. It's the Mu'ad of freedom. And when we talk about a Mu'ad having a theme, it doesn't mean that it's a nice thing that we should think about. It means that every single one of us is required to achieve a new level of whatever it is that Mu'ad's theme is. So in this case, we're all meant to achieve a new level of freedom that we were never able to achieve before this. And the beauty of the Mu'adim is that the Mu'adim are a spiral in nature. What does that mean? Every year we go around and we come back to Pesach. But we don't come back to Pesach the same way we were the previous Pesach. We had gone through a full year of experience, a full year of other Mu'adim and other developments and other new developments of our own awareness. And we come back to the Mu'ad of Pesach each year, a new person. And so we're meant to achieve on Pesach a new level of freedom. What I want to show today, in the short time we have, is how the Hachamim built an experience at the night of the Seder that's meant to help us achieve exactly that. And not only to be able to achieve it, but to take it, build on it, and take it through the rest of Pesach into the rest of the year. So on that, and we're going to do as much concise looking at the texts as possible because 30 minutes is not a lot of time. So we're going to look at the Mishnah in Masechet Pesachim, Perek Yod Mishnah Daled. At the end, it says, as we're talking about the second cup, and we're about to start the Magid section, right? It tells us to start the Manish Tana, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and then it says Matchil Begnut Umsayim B'Shevach. Matchil Begnut Umsayim B'Shevach Doresh Me'arami Oved Avi Ad Sheyigmor Kol HaParasha Kula. That is going to be essentially the nature of the entire Haggadah. We are going to begin with something that is derogatory, that is genut, and we're going to finish with something that is shevach, that's praiseworthy. We're also going to be doresh, which we're going to need to understand what that means, me'arami oved avi, which is a specific text from Sefer Devarim in Kitavo. When we bring the first fruits, we're meant to make a proclamation, and in that proclamation, we're going to be doresh things from it until you finish the entire parasha of Arami Oved Avi. And that's pretty much the entire Magid. So that little bit there is meant to be understood with a lot more understanding. On that note, let's look to see how Harem Bum looks at the whole mitzvah of the night of the Seder. And he says, in Mishneh Torah, Hilchot Chametz U'Matzah, Perek Zayin, Halacha Aleph, he says, מצוות עשה של תורה, לספר בניסים ונפלאות שנעשו לאבותינו במצרים, בליל 15 בניסן שנאמר, זכור את היום הזה אשר יצאתם ממצרים. כמו שנאמר, זכור את יום השבת. Right? So without going further on that, we're just going to take that excerpt and look how amazing Harem Bum's understanding of the night is. Harem Bum, by the way, is unique in his approach to this, that he considers the entire mitzvah of the night underneath the umbrella of the pasuk Zachor et hayom hazeh asher yitzatem miMitzrayim, and he compares it, interestingly enough, to the Zachor of Shabbat, Zachor et hayom haShabbat. So, how do we go about making the mitzvah of Zachor et hayom haShabbat? What's the way we go about doing that? So the way we go about doing Zachor Tayom Shabbat is, how do we make that mitzvah of Zachor? Through speech. And when do we use it through speech? When we say Kiddush, right, on Shabbat, and we say Havdalah on Shabbat. That element of speech on Shabbat is how we make the mitzvah of Zachor. So what's he saying, Harem Bum, comparing it to Zachor Tayom Shabbat? He's saying that the mitzvah is based on Zachor Hayom Hazeh. We have to be Zachor this day, Asher Yisatem Misraim, that you left Misraim. Which means that the way that we're meant to make that mitzvah of Zachor is going to be through speaking, through the aspect of speaking. And if you look earlier, he uses the word mitzvat aseh, and this is the one mitzvat aseh about this mitzvah. The saper b'nisim v'neflaot, right? To speak, well, the saper really is to tell over a story, which we'll get back to in a minute. Okay, so that being said, let's go back a little bit and look at the first element, or one of the first elements of the Magid. The Magid starts off with Ma nishtana halal hazeh mikol halelot, and of course we're very used to hearing the definition of that sentence to mean, why is this night different from all other nights? Even you can see the English translation there does that as well. That's not really what it means. The actual word, Ma nishtana halayla hazeh mikol halelot, the word Ma nishtana means what changed. You have to become aware of what changed. Not what's the difference between one night and another, but what changed. And if you look, the rest of what's talking about in the Mishnah are things that we identify as changes. They're not 4 questions. They're all different examples of things that we notice are changes, and we communicate it through language. When we think about the brilliance of how the Torah does it and how the Hachamim do it through the Haggadah, if we're going to achieve this freedom, if we're going to achieve this new awareness of freedom, what we're saying here is, we're saying to just summarize where we're at, we're saying that first, you have to be able to go and know that part of the nature of freedom is to know that something changed. To know that something changed. And you have to be able to explain it verbally. And not only that, in order for you to achieve this, you have to do what's called zachor. Now, zachor, we normally think of as remember. But what it really means is to be aware. It means to be mindful of. To be mindful of the fact that. To be mindful of the fact that it's Shabbat. And how are you mindful of the fact that it's Pesach, or that it's the Seder night, or that it's Shabbat? By articulating what's changed. What's changed about the fact that it's Pesach now? What's changed about the fact that it's Shabbat? Right? And that's why we'll say, we go from Kodesh Lahol, Mehol Kodesh, Yisrael La'amim, Shabbat. All the different things we have to create differences between one thing and another. And that's how we develop our awareness, and that's how we develop our zechira and make the mitzvah more important. Man nishtana is the beginning. We open up with the whole Magid by saying, Man nishtana, what changed? And we put everybody on awareness. We put everybody on notice. If you look at the language that the Hachamim use, it's amazing. They use all different languages, all different words for communicating. L'saper, higadata lebincha, ki yish alecha, ve'anita, right? So you have narratives of l'saper. Higadata is proclaim. Ki yish alecha is to ask. Ve'anita is to answer. Ve'amarta is to say. Pesach, the word Pesach, hapiyah mikubalim, is supposed to be broken down into Pesach, right? A mouth that speaks. The place that we stood before we were about to cross Yam Suf was called what? Pi Hachirot, the mouth of freedom. So we start to see this constant theme. If you look at the nature of what we call matzah, we call it lechem oni. Lechem oni, the Hachamim call it lechem oni because lechem she'onim alav. This is bread that we answer on it. And we call the whole book the Haggadah, right? So let's understand, when we talk about starting with something derogatory and ending with something praiseworthy, there's a mahloket in the Gemara. And we actually, in this case, instead of going according to one or the other Chacham, we actually incorporate both. Rav says, Amar mitahila ovdei avodah zara, gedolim hayu avatenu, u'Shmuel amar avadim hayinu. Rav says that we should start, achieve this going from derogatory to praiseworthy by talking about the fact that we were ensconced in doing Avodah Zarah. All of us were doing Avodah Zarah, including Avraham Avinu, including his father. He was in it. And that we came out, and so that's the mental freedom. And Shemuel says, and also we have to be aware of the physical freedom, Avadim Hayinu, right? And there are 2 kinds of freedom, right? We know that there are physical, we'll call it liberty, where you can go and do what you want, right? The United States, you would say, is a land of liberty. Unfortunately, especially in today's environment, it's very easy to see people using the liberty without expressing freedom. Right? Going around in a time when everybody's saying stay home and watch yourself and be smart, you have people who are being irresponsible and careless. That's expressing liberty. It's not freedom. Freedom is mental freedom. And if anybody's ever seen the movie Shawshank Redemption, which I highly recommend, it really, to me, is the Pesach movie, not the Ten Commandments, not the Prince of Egypt, the Shawshank Redemption. It's not for little kids, but it is definitely a movie that incredibly expresses the nature of freedom and how you can even be in prison and experience freedom in a very profound way. We're going to have to see what that means. And so I say the level of your freedom, if you see here, the level of your freedom is directly related to the use and the command of language that we use. Because to the extent that you're able to communicate through language, it means that you understand something and are aware enough to be able to say it, to articulate it, which is what the whole night is about. And we use all of these different forms of language. So the other thing that we do is with Doresh me'arami oved avi. What is this concept of Doresh? If a person wants to achieve freedom, along with using all of these forms of language as techniques to achieve that freedom of and learn as much, build as much awareness as possible through all these types of languages, we have to be Doresh. To be Doresh means, if you look at the pasuk in Shemot, Vayomer Moshe lechoteno ki yavo elai ha'am ledrosh Elohim. Right? Moshe tells his father-in-law Yitro, everybody's coming to him to be Doresh Elohim, to search for God. And of course, the pasuk in Tehillim, Elohim Shamayim Shkif al bnei Adam lirot hayesh maskil Doresh et Elohim. Right? Is there somebody smart out there that's searching for God? If you want to be able to achieve the freedom that we're talking about on the night of the Seder, you have to be Doresh me'arami oved avi, not just read it. So now, what are we trying to do in this? What's happening and where does this all come from? Where do we go back to in the Haggadah itself? Well, we're going back to the initial question that the first searcher, the first darshan, the first doresh that we know in Yisrael is Avraham Avinu, the great Avraham Avinu, who was stuck, as Harem Bum says, in the depth of Avodah Zarah himself. And he broke out of it. He broke out of it through his own intense dirisha, his own intense searching, constantly trying to ask questions and constantly never allowing anything to be unanswered by simplicity. He continued to pound away at reality. And so he asks God, when God tells him, your children are going to inherit the land, he didn't understand this. And he asks the question, Vayomer Adonai Elohim, Bameh ida ki et Hashena. How do I know that that they're going to inherit it? Now, Edah is a very powerful word. How do we know that Edah is the most powerful word? Because when Hashem answers Avram, after telling him about these sacrifices he's supposed to bring, he says, Vayomer la Avram, Yado Ateda, ki ger yeh zeracha be'eretz lo lahem ve'avadum ve'innu otam 400 shana, ve'gam et hagoy asher ya'avodu dan anochi. This is it. This is what he tells him is going to be the experience that's going to make him surely be aware. Da'at is more than just to know something. Da'at is an extremely powerful thing. It is the highest level of knowledge. When we pray every day, we say, Chokhmah, Bina, V'da'at, Honen Hadda'at. Right? What is da'at that God is telling him you surely should know? You need to, the word da'at is just talking about the ability to relate to. How do we know? That says, Moshe Rabbeinu at the end of his life tells Yisrael, "V'lo natan Adonai lachem lev da'at ve'einayim lir'ot ve'oznayim l'shmo ad hayom hazeh." 40 years in the desert of experience and learning and mistakes, and all the disasters and difficulties and challenges and successes that they went through, it took them to go through all of that, to have a lev lada'at, to have a heart, to be able to relate to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to relate to their relationship with God. So I wrote out a short thing to be able to understand this. Da'at is the ability to incorporate data, we'll talk about chokhmah, and experience, and utilize it to relate to the world around you. The whole Haggadah is built on this pattern, using different forms of languages, along with the experiencing through eating, leaning, drinking, v'hi she'amda, singing. The whole experience is done to break us out of a slave mentality, to break us out of a frame of mind that we're all stuck in. And a very famous analogy, it's actually a real way of capturing them, but it's also a famous psychological analogy. If anybody's heard me before, you've heard me speak about this many times, is the monkey trap. The monkey trap is an amazing thing. It's an amazing concoction created by those that want to trap monkeys. Some to want to trap them safely, and some because they want to kill them and eat them. But the point is that what is this monkey trap? It's an amazing thing. A monkey trap is, as you can see from the bottom picture of the cartoony guy, is a bottle that has in it a fruit at the bottom of the bottle. And in that bottle, if you see how it's framed, how it's shaped, when the monkey puts his arm in to grab that piece of fruit that he thinks he's getting away with, he realizes when he grabs the fruit and he tries to pull his hand out of the bottle, that his hand is a fist. And the shape of a fist made his hand bigger, and now he's stuck. And in order for him to get away from someone who's coming over to him to capture him with a net or a machete, he has to let go of that banana. And guess what happens, ladies and gentlemen? He does not. He does not let go of that banana. No matter what, he cannot let go. And so this monkey, who has liberty to let go. He has all the liberty in the world right now to let go of that banana and run away. And never do they do it. They want that banana. And so what happens is he gets trapped. And psychologically, of course, that's utilized for us all the time. We have our way of looking at the world. We have our way of experiencing life. We have our things that we have to have. We have the things that we see as absolutely we must have. Well, guess what, everybody? We're living in a time, we're living at a place, we're living in an environment where all of everything that we ever expected, everything we ever thought we were entitled to, we could throw it out the window. And now we're living in a completely new way. So now we have a choice. We could feel like this monkey, and we could hold on to that banana and not let go, or we could experience a new level of freedom, and we could let go of that banana, and we could suddenly experience freedom, the likes of which we've never achieved before this Pesach. I want to just say, as something that we can utilize and actually use, techniques we could use, we find ourselves using language in a way of slave mentality. What kind of language is that? We use words like I have to instead of I choose to. We say things like I can't instead of I choose not to. Or we say things like I have no choice. What can I do? Instead of saying I have broadly thought through all of the options and I choose this. This is the difference between being free and a slave. And the Haggadah and the Hachamim and their brilliance and the Torah and its brilliance of wanting us to build a level of zachor to make this mitzvah has given us these incredible tools that the Seder is meant to do. To the extent, ladies and gentlemen, to the extent that I'm telling you, if you do it right, by the time you get to eating the matzah, you should be eating the matzah with tears of joy. You should be eating the matzah, eating the maror and the korech with tears of joy. You should have achieved something you have never achieved in your life. And so I say to you, and I finish with you right now in terms of the time being up, unfortunately, we have a pasuk that says, Ha'idoti bachem, at the end of Moshe's life. He tells this to Am Yisrael, Ha'idoti bachem hayom et hashamayim v'et ha'aretz, ha'chayim v'ha'mavet, natati lefanecha ha'beracha v'ha'kilala, u'bacharta b'chayim, lema'an tehyeh ata v'zarecha. He tells you, I have put before you life and death, blessing and curse. He also tells you, choose life. But then he says something very simple, silly. Choose life so that you should live. What do you mean, choose life so you should live? Of course you should choose life so you should live. What's the Torah telling you? What's Moshe Rabbeinu screaming at us? He's saying, choose life with a capital L. Make your life a life full of choice, which is a life full of freedom, which is a life full of awareness of who you are and your identity of who you are, and achieve that incredible experience of life, how much that Moshe Rabbeinu so desperately wants us all to achieve. And it's on that note, I wish everybody a Pesach, a Pesach filled with freedom, with a new level of freedom. And please take this formula, and when you go through the Magid and the entire Haggadah, use this formula and find within the Haggadah how it expresses it. It will start talking to you in ways that it never has before. On that note, it is 3:57. I think I have time for like one question.
You're the best, Jesse.
Yes, I'm ending it right there.
You're
I
awesome.
love you. Okay, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful Pesach. And Bezrat Hashem may be a time to
Share the source sheet. Share the source sheet in the chat if you can.
Okay, you got it.
Thank you, Jess.
Everybody.
Thank you.